actually we need to send somebody to Mayapur to inform Mother Sachi that Mahaprabhu has come back truly, and they want to know the news, what's the latest. So I think we should send Kal Krishna Das. So he sent him, and Kal Krishna Das, when he went back, because he traveled with Mahaprabhu, he had all when he got there, everybody wanted him to come to their house. They would treat him like a king, offering him nice prashadam. They wanted to hear about Mahaprabhu. So he went from being, rejected by Mahaprabhu, and then Mahaprabhu's devotees, because of Nityananda Prabhu, he was accepted. He became like a hero. So this is the characteristic of Nityananda Prabhu. If someone is rejected by Mahaprabhu, Nityananda Prabhu picks them up. And Hare Krishna Maharaj, right. And Nityananda Prabhu, because he picks that person up, then Mahaprabhu can no longer reject him.
Someone asked me recently how to get the mercy of Nityananda Prabhu. I said, how can you avoid it? That's
yeah, you can't avoid it.
Happy to be here.
Jai Radha Madhava Jai Kunj Bihari Jai Radha Jai Radha Madhava Jai Ajinulam Bitarujo Sankirtanai Kamalaya Vishwamuro Vinijaro Guruvadhanaru Nande Jagatpriyakaro Karunavadhanu Vande Shri Krishna Chaitanya Nityananda Savita Gaurahari Pushpavanto Chitro Sambhutamanda Vandeham Shri Ramakrishna Apaya Charanasaho Sugaro Paramanando Sundaro Subhapriyo He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Namaste Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Namaniswari Vrishabhanu Sudevi Namami Hari Priye Shri Shri Govinda ki Jai Shri Shri Daji Gopal ki Jai Puri Vaishnava Guru Parampara ki Jai Bhakti Vinod Parivar ki Jai Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki Jai Gaur Premanand Hari Bol. And
I don't think I've met everyone. What's your name?
My name's Mark.
Mark and
And Brett.
Brett. Nice to meet you.
I'm Kapila.
Haven't met you before?
I've been to your programs before, but it was a long time ago.
Met me before. Okay. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you. So I'm going to be here for a few days. My mercy to go call family and friends, and we speak a little bit about the gurus of Gauranga. The Guru Gauranga is about the gurus of Gauranga, and it's characteristic within the Gaudiya Sampradaya to speak something about Gaur Lila prior to speaking about entering into Krishna Lila. I was asked the other day, which comes first, Gaur Lila or Krishna Lila? And of course, the answer is that we don't look at it in a linear measurement. If we draw a line and say which comes first, the tree or the seed, you're going to give an answer. But when you draw a circle, you say which comes first, the tree or the seed, then you can answer both. Which comes second? Both. So that's the answer that transcends the space between our ears, which is where we want to go, beyond the mind, beyond thought, beyond the intellect. Intellect is, of course, is heralded and praised as a dignified guide in this world. It's really an instrument of doubt, to question. And so the realm, if you will, that is in many respects presided over by intellect, of course, in many respects it's not, but amongst humans, civilized humans, rational humans, then it's thought to be a guide. But it's a guide, again, in a realm of doubt, no doubt. It's a realm in which we question. And when you're home, there are no questions. When you're in a foreign land, there are all kinds of questions. You want to read the labels. So if you're home and your mother says, eat this, you're going to say, wait a minute, check out the labels, and so on and so forth. Right? So that means say to us that the home of the heart, the homeland of the heart, if you will, lies beyond the realm that's at best presided over by intellect. Now, if we use intellect in connection with that which comes from beyond the realm of intellect, senses, and mind, and so forth, this is transmission. This is the whole idea of revelation. If you will, we use intellect in relation to that, which it taxes us to do. The Bhagavatam, for example, is something that comes from beyond the realm of intellect, from the seers, right? It said itself, and it's within its own verses. What is that verse?
Tarka.
Tarka. No, Sargo is Sargo.
Oh.
What else? Really?
Tadvag Visargo.
Tadvag Visargo. Jonathan Visargo means creation. Tadvag Visargo Jonathan. Yasmin Pratishloko. The Bhagavatam speaking about itself. It says, I have faults. Goodness. Bhaktivinoda Thakur famously said, no book is perfect. He said, what about the Bhagavatam? The Bhagavatam says, I'm not perfect. This will come up further in our discussion, another way of looking at it, but but I speak the Bhagavatam with urgency. This text is another creation. It's not the sarga, the visarga, the initial impregnating of material nature by the glance of Vishnu, or the further arrangement of the world by Brahma, empowered by the Godhead. Sargo, visargo, initial and secondary, gathering together, if you will, material elements. Creation is not exactly the right word, because nothing comes out. Something doesn't come out of nothing, something like that. So just assembling the parts that are already there for the Shrishti Leela of Krishna, the worldly Leela. But this is another creation altogether. It's by itself. It's another creation. When that dispensation appears within the world of names and forms, thought, and words, in the form of words and thought, well, then it will be possibly to some extent, little extent, imperfectly composed, in as much as its message transcends the limits of thought and word. So if we try to put that within word, there will be some limitations. We should keep this in mind with regard to philosophy, philosophy of Gaudiya Vaishnavism. It has its limits. It's meant to inspire us to participate in transrational practices that can take us beyond the thought and the limitations of the philosophy that the philosophy has in terms of sharing with us and giving us access to that realm, and even the realm of the Atma, to speak of its prospect and transcendence in Bhakti Rasa. So, at any rate,
What comes first?
what comes first? The question is Gaur Leela or Krishna Leela? And the answer is both. Still, we tend to defer towards Gaur Leela in as much as Pujapashita Maharshi used to poetically say that first the giver, then the gift. And Gaur is the giver, Gaur Leela is the giver to the world in a systematic way. It's not that the world didn't know anything about Krishna, it knew something about Krishna. But is he different than Shiva, or to what extent, or Brahma, or is he an incarnation of Narayan, or would he be the source of Narayan? That thought didn't even dawn on anybody. The latter thought he's the source of Narayan. So in a systematic way, placing Krishna at the pinnacle of the Godhead, if you will, from which Asankhya, uncountable, innumerable different faces of the Godhead make their appearance in the world, partially. Even as the different powerful stations or within the world, the power of wind, the power of sun, the power of water. I mean, these things are powerful, right? And there's thought to be consciousness behind them, behind everything that moves, right? Gita says, what? Apare amritastanam prakriti nirime param jiva bhuta mahabhavo yaedam dharyate yaedam dharyate. Let me tell you, Krishna says now, I tell you about the elements, bhumarapo and alovayu kamana chahankara iti bina prakriti rashtada. This is the outer world, but it's driven by an inner world. This is called jiva, jiva shakti, and it is sustaining the world. So consciousness moves matter is the idea. So behind the different powerful manifestations of the macrocosm, there's consciousness. This we call devas, devis. So these are like partial empowered stations. The power of the Godhead is maybe invested in the jiva for a purpose within the creation. And of course, then beyond that, you have the avatar, the expansion, so many faces. Point is of the singular Godhead. I've heard at times a couple of Christian evangelists who are of Indian birth, and I assume they were converted and so forth. And when they refer to Hinduism, they refer to the absurdity of the tradition with 33 million gods. I'm not sure where the number comes from, but it's a popular idea that there are 33 million gods. And well, there are gods for everything we do. For all of the movements that are microcosm of psychophysiological makeup, all of it's involved in. But behind the macrocosm of the entirety of the psychic and physical matter. So then there are Devas behind every function of the body, mind, and so on and so forth. So they dismiss the absurdity, right? Hinduism goes 33 million gods, but of course these are all just 33 million and more. There's more than that, by the way. That's nothing. Bhagavatam says asankhya, unlimited faces of God, and they all emanate from the singular fountainhead face of Sri Krishna. This is the Golden Vaishnava perspective, weighing in, right, in the whole affair. And this is Gore's teaching, Gaudiya Vaishnavism. In this way, giving in a systematic way. This is one example of it, what I mean by in a systematic, but also systematically giving Krishna Lila in the context of teaching a way, a system of attaining entrance into that play, that divine play. So this is the contribution of Gore. In this sense, Gore Lila is giving Krishna Lila. Krishna said, Sarvadharman Parittajamamikam Sharanam Raj. The end of the Bhagavad Gita. Give up everything, surrender to me. Don't worship all the gods, just worship me. And then after you offer prasad to me, give my prasad to them. Then you can take some too. But how do you do that? And so the encore appearance of Krishna, form of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, is Krishna in his Acharya Lila. That's Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Krishna in his Acharya Lila. Acharya means behavior, right? So who is teaching by his example, and what is he teaching? The very thing that he's pursuing in a high sense. He's pursuing what is it that makes Radha tick? What is it in me that makes her the way she is? That is attractive to me, that's worshipable by me. But in a broader sense, of course, then what is the nature of the experience of the devotee of Krishna? It's called Krishna Chaitanya, Krishna consciousness. Of course, he became the great Sri Krishna Chaitanya. We'll have to come to that because he needed a guru for that, right? Sannyas guru. But this evening, we're going to talk about his non-guru and mantra guru. But we're going to do so by way of reversing things. Instead of first talking about Gaur Lila, of course, I have talked a little bit about it. We're going to first talk about Krishna Lila, and from there, we're going to find our way to Gaur Lila with regard to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's first guru. We had more than one guru. Vande Guru, Isha Bhakta, Isha Nisha Bhakta. So Chaitanya Charitamrita begins. Vande Guru. Guru is in the plural. Now, often the plural is used in Sanskrit in cases like this to show reverence. So you could say, well, it's really only talking about a singular idea of guru, but showing the proper reverence. But in his explanation of his opening verse, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami makes it clear that he's speaking about, when he says Vande Guru, he's speaking about a plurality of gurus. He introduces the concept of a Siksha Guru, Diksha Guru and a Siksha Guru. This is a very, it's a unique feature of Gaudiya Vaishnavism. In terms of being spelled out, it's very practical and very common sense idea. And in that sense, it's not limited to Gaudiya Vaishnavism, but the very term Siksha Guru is found in Gaudiya Vaishnavism. In other words, I'll give you an example of this. Some time back, a Gaudiya Vaishnava from a Brahmin family wanted to argue with me that only if you're born in a Brahmin family can you be a guru. I mean, I'm a guru. I wasn't born in a Brahmin family. You didn't know. And so it was kind of rude, but I patiently listened to his arguments, and they're not arguments I haven't heard before. And I, politely replied to him that from a Gaudiya point of view, this was very much a misunderstanding. I mean, Gaudiya Vaishnavism with regard to Varnashram is very much about leveling the playing field, doing away with hierarchy. Of course, you have the guru. Is that not the hierarchy? No, not really, because the guru is teaching how to serve, so he or she has to be the best servant and show by example. So you may want to be a guru, then you have to find out it's about being the best servant. And I'm like, I thought it was about getting a higher seat, and it's all very comfortable. It's not that comfortable. Creates some distance, right? That may be useful for teaching. So, for that, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said in a famous lecture, where on the day of his appearance, which was being celebrated by his disciples, they offered him high seed and so forth. And he said, so you may wonder, how can the words turn out of peace when you chain out? To be more humble than a blade of grass, come from the mouth of someone sitting on a seat like this above everyone else, accepting praise and so on and so forth. And he explained then the dynamic nature of humility in the context of Gaudiya Vaishnavism, which is basically humility before God and Guru, which may involve doing the bidding, which will involve doing the bidding of our Guru, which may involve sitting on a seat, like Bhaktivinoda Thakur told him, do like this, and so forth. He's following the order. Right? That was his dynamic expression then of, it didn't look overtly like humility, which he was addressing. So, some points. What?
The Brahman who is saying Shiksha.
Right. So I said to him, I gave him various answers and so forth. And he gave his replies back. I've heard these things many times, but then I quoted a verse from him from one of the Purans. It's a famous verse that Sat Karma Nipano Vipro Mantra Tantra Visharada. You know it? It says, if you were born in a Brahmin family, and you have all the qualities, the 6 qualities of a Brahmin, but you are, but you're not a Vaishnava, then you cannot be a guru. But if you are Swapacha, born in the family of dog eaters, but you're a Vaishnava, then you can be a guru. I thought it was a fairly conclusive verse. But relative to the point we're making, he said, that's Siksha Gurus, not Diksha Gurus.
Ah,
So then what would we say? I said, well, this is the verse from the Puranas, and you can't find the word Siksha Guru, the term Siksha Guru, in any Purana. Let's go to the Bhagavad Gita. You find that different, you find even the term Siksha Guru. Is it in the Upanishads? No, it's nowhere to be found. And when Krishnadas Kaviraj identifies two gurus in relation to his opening statement, Vande Guru and the plurality of gurus, Diksha Guru and Siksha Guru, he explains the character and the quality of the Siksha Guru by way of saying the two, the Diksha and Siksha Guru, are of the same, paraphrasing, spiritual standing, but their function only is different. So one is not less spiritually qualified than the other, but the function is different. The function is different. The Diksha Guru is imparting the mantra. Siksha Guru is, in this instance, well, the mantra's been imparted, so if I'm to serve as a guru, I will nourish you with Siksha, with instructions to help bring out all that is found in the mantra that you've received. So it's not the Siksha Guru is not a lack of, in the full sense of the term, lack of qualification. And it's a Gaudiya Vaishnava term that indeed surfaced within the history of Gaudiya Vaishnavism when it was apparent that sometimes, get this, the Diksha Guru may be lacking in some knowledge. That's a kind of a nice way of putting it. At which time the Siksha Guru, with more spiritual knowledge, may be brought into the picture so that the regard for the principle of Guru may be kept in place, which is very important because after all, if we want to know the infinite, being finite as we are, was the hope. How can the finite know the infinite? It's only possible if the infinite, out of its infinite capacity, can make itself known to the finite. It has that capacity. So God makes himself known to those whom he wants, and this is the vehicle that he himself has chosen to do that through Guru Tattva. And this, we were speaking about this morning earlier, this is nowhere more underscored, the role of the Guru, in any sampradaya than it is in Gaudiya Sampradaya. Okay, something like this morning, why? But it's I won't go into that in detail. That's the case. So, anyway, I defeated him. In other words, if you're qualified to be a Siksha Guru, you're qualified to be a Diksha Guru. There may be a reason that someone might be qualified and might not function in the capacity of a Diksha Guru, but that would be a cultural reason, according to time and circumstance and so forth. When other qualified persons were there. All right, so you're from a Brahmin family and you're Vaishnava and you're qualified, then you can initiate. In the times gone by in the history of Gaudiya Vaishnavism, that was the case. But Narottam crossed over on that. He was probably the first. Narottam Thakur from the Kshatriya family. And so many disciples he had, and so much we are indebted to him. So, at any rate, we were taught the importance somehow was into that. And we do that in the context, we've done that in the context of speaking about entering into Krishna Lila in order tonight anyway, to enter into Gaur Lila and to speak about the one anyway. Tonight, one of the gurus of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He, again, his Leela is sometimes referred to as a Charya Leela, so he taught by example. So he set this example, right? Accepting Guru, no more than one Guru, also. So for that, anyway, we go to the Bhagavad, of course, where the Prakat Leela, the manifest Leela, is so beautifully told. Samadhi Nanusmarata, Vicheshtitam. Narad was told, or Narad, excuse me, told Vyas. He did it all wrong. He wrote the Bhagavatam. He wrote the Bhagavad Purana, but it has not sufficiently emphasized in no uncertain terms the efficacy and excellence of bhakti over jnana and karma. Something you said, but you haven't just like really hit him over the head with it. And so all of your work thus far is useless. Back to the drawing board. Redo the Bhagavatam. And he said, Samadhi Nanusmarata Vicheshtitam. You're very qualified. So sit in Samadhi. Samadhi, and based on you're in Samadhi and meditation on Krishna Leela, then come back out and rewrite the Bhagavatam, which then became Srimad Bhagavatam. Bhagavatam became Srimad Bhagavatam. And different Puranas, and something was edited in them to say something about the glories of Srimad Bhagavatam. Right? Swami cited many of those verses in other Puranas glorifying the Bhagavatam, which is an ancient way of asserting and establishing the importance of the Bhagavatam. But there are many, many modern ways in which we could do so as well, in comparison to other religious texts, the Bible, the Quran, in terms of even modern scholarship, with comments upon the nature of Sanskrit as an evolving language at different times and so forth. From a literary point of view, and of course, from a rasa point of view. Bhagavatam doesn't just tell the story of Krishna Leela like you could find in the Vishnu Purana or the Padma Purana, Harivamsa Purana, but it tells it with kind of with feeling and emotion, which is put forth in Bhagavatam in such a way as to draw the readers into Vatsalya Rasa, to Sakya Rasa, to Madhurya Rasa. These are the three real centers of the 10th canto. There's a Vatsalya Rasa center. We're going to go there first tonight, beginning with the 8th chapter, and on into the Damodar Leela, a number of chapters showcasing Vatsalya Rasa. Then, of course, the Sakya Rasa center, beginning with the end, third of the 11th chapter, into the probably Mohan Leela, 12, 13, 14, 15, Proganda Leela, Krishna becomes a coward, so on and so forth. On to then the Madhurya Rasa center, which is the center of the Bhagavatam, Rasa Panchadhyaya, 5 chapters about Radha and Krishna's Rasa Leela. And so the book speaks about these Leelas in such a way as to, if you read them properly, but good association is very enlightening. Of the retelling the whole of the Prakat Leela in his magnum opus, Gopal Champu. Jiva Goswami again says, so I've systematically spoken about these different sentiments here. Which one do you like? And then use what I've said here as an instrument to enter into it. Jiva Goswami Prabhupada. So we go to the 8th chapter of the 10th canto of the Bhagavatam. And we feel at the beginning, a strong feeling at least, in a concentrated way, about Vatsalya Rasa. Just in the very beginning, in the person of sentiment of Nanda Baba. Trinivarta has been slain somehow or other. It's not apparent. Krishna has not begun to overtly exhibit his quality of heroism which is an Udipana for Sakyarasa. That doesn't happen until the last part of the 11th chapter, where he kills, really, in no uncertain terms, he kills Bakasura. Previous to that, of course, he killed, let's say, he liberated Putana, he liberated Shakatasura, he liberated Trinavarta, but it wasn't apparent that he did so, right? Trinavarta is a hurricane of sorts, came and windstorm, took him up and then let him down, and there was a demon. So this isn't appropriate for Vatsalya Rasa. Heroism of Krishna, one of his qualities. This is not something that serves as a stimulus or an excitement for Vatsalya Rasa. They're not going to get all like excited. The hero of Krishna. They're like worried about his well-being, right? His friends are not worried about his well-being. They're confident. They're confident. This is a characteristic of Sakyas, the confidence. Vishramba. This is pradhan, right? The principal characteristic of this rasa. Confidence in Krishna. They're so confident in Krishna and himself. They could have done it, but how did his son do it? He's the son of the king of the cowherds, right? Of course, but Madhurya Rasa, then they think, oh, what a hero. She's there thinking, he's in white, black knight on a white cow. Come and rescue me from this guy over here. It's like been betrothed to something like that, your hero. Right? Such a hero. So from different sentiments, of course, these pastimes will be felt, experienced by the different devotees slightly differently, right? With some difference. So here in 8th canto, the part section we want to enter with regard to our topic is Trinavarta has been slain, and Nanda Maharaj is a little concerned about the well-being of his son, and he wants to perform the Namakarna ceremony, which is a varnashram ceremony where it's a name-giving samskar ritual. So in order to give the child names, an astrological calculation has to be taken. There are priestly duties to be performed and need a priest to do it, and so on and so forth. But there's trouble in paradise. And things have been happening that are cause of concern. And Kamsa is arguably behind it, and word is out that he is sending his assassins here and there and frightening the community, even at a distance in the rural area of Vrindavan, distance from Mathura, metropolitan area where he reigns, evil reign of Kamsa. So this is troubling for Nanda Maharaj. He wants his sons, Krishna and Balaram, to undergo the Namakarna. It has to be done within 100 days after the birth. The time's running out. So his fatherly love, his Vatsalya Bhav, we get just a flash of this in his concern, and by the transcendental system at the same time, just as he's feeling strongly about this, what to do, how to go about this. The great astrologer and priest of the Yadu dynasty, Gargacharya, Gargamuni, appears on the scene. And he's appearing on the scene because in his omniscience of sorts, in his all-knowingness of sorts, relatively speaking, he wants to perform the name-giving ceremony for Krishna and Balaram. So the desires coincide, as Providence has it, just as Nanda Maharaj is praying to Vishnu for what to do, Gargamuni appears on the scene. Right? And I say, he's known to be the priest of the whole like Yadu dynasty, and famous for his astrological treatises. So you couldn't get a better priest, if you will. But still, the concern of Nanda Maharaj is palpable, and he's concerned. Now a great person has appeared, fantastic, but more cause for caution, because what Gargamuni does, that'll be told here and there, and so Garga suggests, let us do the Namkarn in the cowshed.
Mhm.
This is, of course, the cows have gone out. They're out. The herdsmen are herding, and the mothers and the ladies are doing their task, and the cowshed is empty at this time. No one is around. So there's no need to clean it, because the cowshed is clean. Cows are there. Cows have been there. So there's purity in where cows have been. Of course, we do clean cow sheds. I do it myself at times. Last week I was doing that in Doria. Very nice seva. But inherently, it's a purified place in terms of ritual, in terms of the realm of ritual. After all, we can use cow dung to clean the altar, so forth, right? So the realm of ritual has its own standards. The realm of ritual is kind of a realm that's in between the material realm and the perception of our mind, senses, and intellect, that realm, and the transcendental realm that transcends the limits of our faculties, material faculties. So this realm of ritual comes in between, has material elements to it, and we use our material senses and sense objects, so forth, in the ritual, offering the flower and food and light and so on and so water and so on and so forth. But it has its own rules for purity and dress and what to say. And you don't say, here's breakfast, Krishna. You say, idam navedam om klim Ramakrishna vyam namaha. That's another realm, right? And that's not said in the material world. You say, breakfast's ready, come get it. And that's not said in Goloka Vrindavan either. Your Mother Miso doesn't say, idam navedam om klim Ramakrishna vyam namaha. So it's its own world, right? It's a meeting between time and eternity. And if we apply ourselves appropriately, according to scriptural injunction and so forth, within the realm of ritual, then we enter into eternity. So the cow shed was a suitable place for a ritual that required a certain standard of purity. Ordinary people would think that's a pretty dirty place, but again, it has its own rules, right? Its own sensibilities, right? And of course, no one was around, so it could be done privately. Now, this tells us something also. This is a Namkarn ceremony, which means it's part of the Varnashram. Varnashram Dharma is different from Vaishnava Dharma or the Prema Dharma of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. The latter steps on the head of the former. If one has real Shraddha, real faith in Vaishnavism, one can tread the path of Vaishnavism. And then the rules and regulations of the moral realm of Varnashram are transcended. It's not that morality is transcended, but in Bhakti and Vaishnavism, we have a rule like this. Bhakti, to tread the path of Bhakti, one has to have the requisite faith, Shraddha. What is the outer expression of Shraddha, faith? It's Sharanagati. Sarvadharman Purita Jamamekam Sharanam Braja. Krishna says, have faith in me alone, not all the gods and goddesses, all the 33 million of them. Just me alone, to keep it simple. and just surrender everything yourself to me. So Sharanagati is the outer expression of Shraddha. And within Sharanagati, which is sixfold, the first of the angas or limbs of Sharanagati is Anukulyasya Sankalpa Patikalpa Partikulasya. So it means accepting what's favorable for bhakti, rejecting what's unfavorable for bhakti. Now, if you do this, how moral of a person will you be? Goodness. It will transcend the moral stoutness of someone within Varnashram who perfectly performed the Varnashram duties for 100 lifetimes and became a Brahma. The moral life, of course, is very kind of rudimentary at best form of love. It's centered on gratitude. Gratitude for the sun, gratitude for the wind, for the water, reverence for the gods behind all the whole macrocosm, realizing that my microcosm of psycho physiological sense of self is dependent upon that. So many things in the microcosm for it to function. So I should live with gratitude. It's like, from a theistic point of view, when you teach your children, you say please, say please. Please. Okay. Now say thank you. Thank you. This is the karma mark. Right? It's full of the desire for the thing, but okay, I'll make a sacrifice. I'll say please. And afterwards I'll say thank you. Okay, now give it to me. I'll go that far. That little bit of sacrifice in a culture really of gratitude. It's a beginning, kind of the beginning of love, and then the prema dharma of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is full face of that love. The real benefit, of course, that we get within the Varnashram system, which isn't functioning anywhere in the world today, but in times gone by, the real benefit of it was the faith in the scriptural injunctions that is nourished by the execution of the mandates of the scripture to function in relation to what the scripture says, and you get the desired result. Your faith in the canon, the scriptural canon, is increased. What this does in time is cause you to look at it that much closer, and then you find out that not only does the book teach you how to live a bountiful human life, but it teaches you that you're not human. You're more than human. You're superhuman. You're supernatural. And of course, this is then the Upanishads and the nature of the self is the focus, right? So from karma to gyan. And of course, if you're in the Ramanujya Sampradaya, from karma to gyan, from gyan to bhakti. If you're in a Gaudiya Sampradaya, Nityananda Prabhu will give you bhakti. By his extraordinary example of kindness, creates the faith and gives bhakti. And so this way, bhakti marg ultimately transcends the reach of the varnashram, and the moral life is not disregarded by these. We have another super means of attaining a moral standard and an example that people concerned with morality as the all in all, which it's not, will be drawn to. They're very upright people, and what are they about? Something like that. This is the role that the what is called the devotion. There's the Sanishta, Parinishta devotee. She's a householder. But she lives and eats and drinks and sleeps for bhakti, but follows the Varnashram system, follows the standards of the Varnashram system, set an example for others. Not because she thinks if I don't do the Varnashram, my bhakti will be affected negatively. If I do it, my bhakti will be affected positively. No. What does Rupa Goswami say? He defines bhakti. How's it start? Anyavyanashikasanyam Gyan Karmadi Anavritam. To think that my bhakti will be defective or weakened if I don't perform the Varnashram, or to think it will be enhanced if I do. This is karma covered by bhakti, covered by karma. No. An important point we've made many times. But to underscore it. So here in this situation in the Leela, this is a Varnashram ritual. Now Krishna is following the Varnashram system in the Leela, but he's a Vaishnava, right? His father is a Vaishnava. Who's the household deity for Nanda Maharaj? Bhagavan Nrsimha. Right. They're Vaishnavas, Vaidhi Bhaktas, for all appearances. And following the Varnashram, which is the social system, social religious system. They're Parinishta. These Vaishnavas. The question comes, and there's no answer to it. Which Sampradaya is Krishna? Which Vaishnava Sampradaya? It said there's 4: Rudra, Lakshmi, Kumaras, and Brahma. Which all of these Sampradayas worship Krishna. They all worship Krishna, some more than others. Some flatter him more than others. But they all do. So anyway, Krishna's a Vaishnava. And so different schools of Vaishnavism, when they paint a picture of Krishna, they'll put their tilak on. You see Ramanuja tilak, or Nimbarka tilak, Vallabha tilak, go to all the Prabhupada's books, and Gaudiya tilak on. We make a good case for that, because after all, we call it the Brahma Sampradaya, one of them. But Krishna gave the mantra, Gopal mantra to Brahma, right? At the dawn of creation. And that's our main mantra. And our Krishna also appeared in that Sampradaya in the form of Srimad Mahaprabhu, Gaur Krishna Ki Jai.
Jai.
He started it, called the Brahma Sampradaya, it's actually the Krishna Sampradaya. He started it, and he appeared within it to make clear all that he told Brahma. Madhva picked up on a fair amount of it, but there was more to be told. And more is much more, and it's worthy of the 5th Sampradaya, with the 5th goal of life. Prema Pumarto Panchama Purushartha. We don't say, like all the other Vaishnava Sampradayas, the goal is moksha. No. Prem. This is a Gaudiya peculiarity, right, from the other Sampradayas, and for good reason. And when they say Prem Prayojan, they're talking about the full face of Prem as it appears in the Braja Leela, not the Prem, harnessed Prem of the Vaikuntha. This clearly comes out in their texts. So Prem Prayojan, Panchama Purushartha. But the point I'm making is that the Namkaran ceremony presided over by Narada Muni, serves for us as an example, to some extent, of the importance of receiving the Nam, holy name, from the Guru within Vaishnavism as it plays out in Chaitanya Sampradaya and Gaur Lila. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also received the Harinam and Gopal Mantra and so forth, right? And we'll get to that. So what I'm saying to you is that we should look at the Nam Karna of Krishna, given by Garga Muni, who, Garga Muni, is the same person in Gaur Lila who gave Krishna Mantra and Krishna Nam to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Shri Ishwar Puri Maharaj. It's curious that in the Gaur Ganadesh Dipika, a book by Kavi Karnapur that tries to reason about and scripturally reason about Shastri Yukti, employing Shastri Yukti, scriptural reasoning as to who is who in Gaur Lila, who are they in Krishna Lila? As I said before, when the associates of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu at times had the epiphany that Nimai Pandit, who's now a Vaishnava amongst us, is Krishna himself, they came back from that and said, oh, that couldn't be, because Krishna comes with his, wherever Krishna is, he's with his associates. There's no need to Yasoda Nandan without Yasoda. There's no meaning to Radha Nath without Radha. So we can't really say he's Krishna because we're his associates. They had this reasoning. If he's Krishna, then his associates will be here. And then, of course, they realize they are here. And it's us. Where are we? We're in another Leela. And then it would normalize again, right? And they're in pursuit of Krishna through the Nam Sankirtan. So it's curious that in his Gaur Ganadesh Dipika, where Kavi Karnapur seeks to identify different devotees of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Leela associates with different associates of Radha and Krishna in their Leela, but he doesn't make a connection between who, he doesn't speak about Ishwar Puri. Who is Ishwar Puri in Krishna Leela? But about a century later, as you may know, Vishwanath Thakur wrote a similar book, very, very similar, 90% the same as Kavi Karnapur, Gaur Swarup, Gaur Gan Swarup Chandrika, I think might be the name. And there are just a few little differences in there that in terms of identifying who in Gaur Lila is who in Krishna Lila. And these things, there's some relativity to this. These things are not absolutes here. This will come up more when we speak about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Ragmarg Guru. Today we're speaking about his Nam Guru, Diksha Guru. But there, anyway, in Vishwanath Thakur's book, he does a great service to the community by identifying Ishwar Puri with Garga Muni. So we want to look at this Namkaran ceremony, which is a Varnashram ceremony. We want to look through it a little bit in terms of what it tells us about the giving of Krishna Nam, because that's what he gave. Of course, he named Ram. His name will be Ram, because he would give pleasure to both to the Yadus and the entire cowherd community. And he would be called Bala because he has great strength. And he would be called Sankarshan because he unites everything together. And then he gives the name for Krishna. And he just says in Krishna, and then he also has been known in the past as Vasudeva. There's a famous verse that Asan Varna Triyogya, Asan Varna Triyogya. Eating Krishna. Anyway, it's a famous verse. These days my memory's not as good as it was when I was younger, but famous verse because there he identifies this boy of yours has appeared at different times in different complexion.
Something happened to them.
Complexion, reddish complexion with a golden complexion. And he's also been known as the son of Vasudeva at other times, so maybe called Vasudeva. So of course this is we find in here the Gaudiya avatars have pulled out from this verse strong evidence for there being a golden avatar and the red and the white. This pertains to Yuga avatars. And there's a golden avatar too. And again, we're going in a circle here, so it already happened, but it's also going to just happen right after Krishna Viva, the encore appearance of Gaura. So he gives him Krishna, he gives him the name Krishna, and we get the name of Krishna as a result, and it's given in a cowshed, right? So there are different standards for initiation. Oh, nowadays it's unbelievable. It still goes on that some people criticize our Paribar coming from Bhakti Vinod and Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur because this part wasn't there in initiation, that part wasn't there, this ingredient, this detail wasn't there, as if such details are all in all initiation. And Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he did this and nobody did that before, and so forth. And quoting, I've seen this argument and support it, quoting from Gaur Govinda, was it Sri Gaur Govinda Archana Padati of Dhyan Chandra. Dhyan Chandra has written a nice book about Rag Bhakti. It's full of different mantras for manjaris and different associates of Krishna and so on and so forth. And it's a later book from another generation after the Goswami's books and so forth. So making the argument, all these mantras are in this book, and everybody supposed to be given these 16, 18, 25 mantras and tilak like this, and not like that, and so on and so forth. But if you want to complain that Bhaktisiddhanta did it differently, why don't you complain with Dhyan Chandra, because he did it differently than the seminal book on this, which is Hari Bhakti Vilas. Oh, you didn't get the right tilak, it has to be this color or that if you're in that paribar. What does Hari Bhakti Vilas say? This is the seminal book on ritual and behavior. It's kind of a smriti book text for Gaudiyas, right? Drawing from different Puranas and so forth, put together by Sanatana Goswami and Gopal Bhatta Goswami. Regarding tilak, he says, and you shall wear Urdhva Pudam. It's just up and down, not across like the Shiites. That's it. Everything else is later. Why are you going to criticize those persons for doing later? There's nothing wrong with what they did. But to say what they did is the last thing that can be done, those regulations were done by the Goswami families and so forth. It sought to give some form and shape to the teachings, further shape to the teachings, which is all well and good, but these are details, right? Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur did what he did, and it worked. And we're all here because of it, and all the criticizers are there because of it too. They got all their faith rather from Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Bhaktivinoda Thakur. This is, you don't underestimate the validity and the power of such a sampradaya. That conception for which came in Bhaktivinoda Thakur for worldwide Gaudiya Vaishnavism, put it on the world stage, the stage of world religions, and that was given shape, that desire. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, and as Pujapad Sri Ramakrishna is saying, Bhaktivedanta Swami took it all over the world. Now, like I said, Sri Ramakrishna goes to think about it a little bit. those of us who were caught up in it all stopped for a minute. Now his campaign is the sun of that is set with his passing, Prabhupada. Mission policy, but song. Think about what was it really all about? Was it just book distribution? Or did you read the book too? And so forth. So he, like the moon, kind of reflective light, causes us to think deeply about what our Guru Maharaj gave us and so forth. Very interesting. So in the cowshed, it was done. In Hari Bhakti Vilasa said, this is the stand, this is what you do. You do this, 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 and this for initiation. One time, Brigupad, my disciple, who's a real ritual liker. In fact, he's translated Hari Bhakti Vilas. He's a scholar, and he's translated the first volume of Hari Bhakti Vilas, first time in English. He has two more volumes to it. So he was at Audari, and he gave initiation to one of my disciples who passed away some years ago from brain cancer. And he was a ritual kind of a guy. So Prabhupada did this whole ritual, and it included having to go bathe in a river. And so there's a river for a couple miles down the ravine at Audari. We go swimming there sometimes, and there's a waterfall. So, and it was like a cold, it's always cold, but it was like a cold enough day. So he went all the way down there and bathed in the river. He wanted all these rituals to be in place and make sure that it would work and so on and so forth. And there's nothing wrong with that. And those things create faith in people. Something's happening here. Something's happening. So there's sound. What's going on? There's a fire. And pay attention. And something. But what's really happening in all this, of course, is the imparting of the mantra and will of the guru to impart the mantra through the ear into the heart of the disciple. That's what the initiation is. So Gopal Bhatt or Swami and Hari Bhakti says it can be done this way. Nor is a moderate, a simpler way to do it if circumstances require, like this. And third, if last nothing else, just give the Brahman mantra. That's what it's all about. So here's getting it. So the fact that the Nam, of course, this is Varnashram, but we're looking at it from a Vaishnava point of view, was given in the cowshed. Given in the cowshed, there's no other ceremony and so forth, just the imparting of some mantra there he gives for whatever. But basically, this is the spirit of it. Right? He gave the name of Krishna to Krishna, and so names come to us, right? So in this way, in the cowshed, the Namkaran ceremony was performed, and then, of course, a little later on, after all the Leela Stalis were in place, like we were discussing this morning, after the killing of Aristasura and Radha Kunda was established, now it's time for Krishna to go to Mathura. Well, in the Prakat Leela, as opposed to the Aprakat Leela, where he doesn't go to Mathura, he goes to Mathura and he slays Kamsa. And after the slaying of Kamsa, of course, then this is outside of the Braj, but again we see this Vatsalya, because here's the problem. Vasudeva and Devaki are there, and Nanda Baba is there. So there's two fathers, and wherever Nanda is, the spirit of Yashoda is as well, right? Two fathers and mothers for Krishna and Balaram. Who's the real father? Who's the real mother? What's going on? And of course, Krishna has come and slayed Kamsa, and it hasn't affected the Vatsalya Bhav of Nanda Maharaj at all. Such as the force of that praying approach. But Devaki and Vasudeva, they're like set back with some Aishwarya, some reverence for Krishna, who after all was appeared in the dungeon with 4 arms, right? No babies are born with 4 arms, right? So he wasn't born there, actually. He appeared there, right? From the heart of Vasudeva to the heart of Devaki, and then manifest, right? And then he assumed a 2-arm form, went to where he actually was born, when it showed up. That's a whole other interesting theological exercise to demonstrate that from the text and so forth. but it's clear that he appeared with 4 arms. So here he is again, and, after a long time, right? They've been in prison. But Krishna never, and Balaram never experienced any Vatsalya bhav with them. And they are mothers and fathers of him also, right? And famous for it. They'll be more famous for being the father and mother of Krishna than Yashoda. Yashoda means Yashoda, who gives fame, and Devaki also means the same. Yashoda said, "You take the fame for being the mother, and I'll take the son for actually being my son." You can be famous all over the world. Devaki Nandan, Devaki Sutta, Krishna's the son of Devaki, celebrated in a big way, and so forth and so on. When the Rath Yatra, the solar eclipse was performed, which is related to the Rath Yatra, a big city was erected, Kurukshetra, like an Olympic city, right? And the counter people from Braj came in their covered wagons, bullock carts, and so forth. They came to the gates, and the guards said, "You got a ticket to get in here? Where are you coming from?" "I'm his mother." "Whose mother? What are you talking about?" "That's the prince. You rode here on an elephant. You're coming on a bullock cart. Who do you think you are? That's the son of Devaki." But somehow, word got in. There's a lady at the door, and she wants to get in. Krishna let her in. Bring her in a very beautiful section of the Bhagavatam there, where Devaki witnesses Krishna meeting with Yashoda, and she says, "You're the real mother. You are his mother." Just see, measure. She bows her own Vatsalya bhav. Parental love is bowing to the Vatsalya of Yashoda, who is the fullest expression of Vatsalya bhav, right? The pinnacle of Vatsalya bhav. Yashoda Mai ki jai, Yashoda Nandan ki jai, Devaki Nandan ki jai. So Krishna at this point has not experienced any Vatsalya rapport with Devaki and Vasudeva, and they're in a kind of a reverential state. So he approaches them and says, "You're my father and mother. I never got to sit on your lap," and so forth. And Balaram. So they bring them down. Krishna brings them down from their Aishvarya, from their reverential frame of mind, and allows them to taste, and himself to taste the first. It's very beautiful first time. Vatsalya bhav between Devaki, Vasudeva, and Krishna, and Balaram. Of course, then Nanda Maharaj is on the scene nearby, and so forth. So Krishna has to navigate the course. He does it very, very expertly. Of course, after that, he goes to Nanda Maharaj, and it's most understood. I had to say, but really, you're my mother and father. It's not that his Vatsalya bhav for Vasudeva and Devaki are different, but Vasudeva Krishna is manifesting, who's the object of the parental love of Vasudeva and Devaki. And that's a partial form of Swami Bhagavan Krishna of Braj, who then goes back into Krishna, and he talks to Nanda Maharaj, says, "Actually, you're my father," and so forth. He has to send Nanda Maharaj back. It's a very touching scene. But at that time, Nanda Maharaj departs and brings news back to Braj, and some celebrations take place. Krishna appoints Ugrasen to be the head of the kingdom, and then at that time, Gargamuni appears on the scene again, and then he gives the Upanayana to Krishna and Balaram. Upanayana means the Brahman thread, which is also not part of the Varnashram, in that in the Varnashram system, the Vaishyas, which Krishna is a Vaishya caste, Kshatriyas, Balaram's officially a Kshatriya because of the son of Vasudeva and Mohini, I should say, and the Brahmins, they all undergo this samskar, which is receiving the Brahman thread and the Gayatri mantra. So the Nam Guru, if you will, as we're thinking about it, appropriately so, of Krishna is also his mantra guru. And then, of course, Krishna leaves Mathura, and that's a topic for another day. Goes to another guru then. Sunday Pranamuni, so we'll have to talk about that. That's another guru. But from here, now it's time to enter to quarterly. Right? We've identified Krishna's, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Nam and Mantra Guru in the Krishna Lila, and he appears in Gaur Lila as Ishwar Puri Pa. Ishwar Puri ki jai. Right? Ishwar Puri, according to the records, he is hailed from Bengal. I forget the name of the town, but it's kind of in between Gaya and Navadvip. And he came to Navadvip, to Shantipur, to the place of Advaitacharya. Advaitacharya, of course, is who, in one sense, brought Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to the world, right? And he was the eldest Vaishnava and Brahmin in the community, and very outwardly engaging others in the Yuga Dharma, right? Teaching Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam from a bhakti point of view, Bhakti Yoga Gyan, and so forth. A great scholar and Vaishnava. And Ishwar Puri so came to his place, and he kept himself very humbly and didn't want to stand out in any way. And but Rita kept looking at him. Rita Charge kept looking at him. What is it about that guy that's so attractive? Maybe he even didn't bring his danda or something like that. He was a sannyasi. But anyway, there are many sannyasis too. But Rita was very drawn to him. And then Mukunda, whose kirtan, Vrindavan Das Thakur says, would melt the heart of anyone. Krishnadas Kaviraj says, cause stones to weep. That kind of kirtan. Mukunda was the one who encouraged Gadadhar to meet Pundarik Vidyanidhi. Of course, and when Pundarik Vidyanidhi was looking like a materialist, Gadadhar thought, why is Mukunda brought me to see a materialist? Because Gadadhar was like a Paka Vaishnava brahmachari. Mukunda, understanding the mind of Gadadhar, began to sing song verses, put the song from the Bhagavatam. What's that verse? Ahobhakyam Stanata Utam. Oh, how fortunate it is. Who in the right mind would take shelter of anyone but Krishna, who suckled the breast of Putana, would have her desiring to kill him, gave her liberation. This is a very Vatsalya Leela, right? And Pundarik Vidyanidhi, who is Vrishabhanu Maharaj, the father of Radharani, heard the verse of Bhagavatam and Kirtan from Mukunda, and he fell off his palanquin and rolled on the ground in ecstasy, exhibiting Satvika Bhavas, and Gadadhar said, oh my God, what kind of devotion he has. I've made an offense, right? I thought in my mind, what kind of Vaishnava is this? Later, then he made up for that. He asked Mahaprabhu's permission to take Diksha from Pundarik Vidyanidhi, right? So Mukunda is famous like this. So he began to sing songs about Krishna in Kirtan. And Ishwar Puri melted. Hearing the songs in the heart and the voice of Mukunda, he melted and fell into ecstasy, exhibiting Satvika Bhavas. So all attention came to him now. He wanted no attention whatsoever, keeping himself in the background, coming to get the darshan of the Rita Charya. Rita kept looking over the crowd. Who is that? Who is it? Why am I attracted? Mukunda picked up on all this, right? And began to sing in Kirtan. And then Ishwar Puri could not contain himself. He was brought out. He was, they say, coming out. He had to come out. Come on out, show us who you are. And so then they put things together. And this must be Ishwar Puri. It's a disciple of Manavendra Puri. This is how he entered into the Navadvip area. And then he spent about a month or so there. He lived in the house of Gopinath Acharya, who was the brother-in-law of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. He's another, partially a guru of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. We'll have to talk about him also in the coming days. So he stayed in Navadvip, and on one day passing, he came across the path of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu on his way home from school. And he was stunned by the appearance of Nimai Pandit. And began to speak to him. And what is your name? And then this Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Nimai Pandit's disciple said, he's Nimai Pandit. That's who he is. This is Nimai Pandit here. He's great. And so, it's famous. This his name had been known. So Ishwar Puri said, you are Nimai Pandit. Oh. And he was so attracted to him. So Nimai Pandit invited him to come to our house. Mother will prepare lunch for you. Your sannyasi. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was not shown himself as a Vaishnava yet, but he was very respectful to Ishwar Puri. So Ishwar Puri came to his house for lunch, and then he stayed at Gopinath's house, and daily Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would come at sunrise and pay respect to Ishwar Puri, and then go about his daily life, which was not the life of a Vaishnava, to the regretful, to the, how would you say, dismay of all the Vaishnavas. If only my Pandit would become a Vaishnava. Everybody loved him, but the Vaishnavas were upset with him, but they loved him too. They pretended they weren't. He's not a Vaishnava, he's wasting his life. But if you become a Vaishnava, we would have a good person in our ranks, right? Ishwar Puri, of course, brought that about in a sense, in due course. But while he was staying in Navadvip, he had written a book called, I think it was Krishna Lilamrita, and he discussed it with Gadadhar Pandit. Of course, Gadadhar Pandit was a Pandit. He's the Bhagavatam reciter in Gaur Leela. Every morning he would recite in that Prakat Leela, he would recite the Bhagavatam in the house of Sachi before breakfast. And on one occasion, and the story, he asked Nimai Pandit, I've written a book about Krishna, and you're a great scholar in language and Sanskrit and so forth, the Navanyaya also, and so will you read it over and edit it for me, point out any faults that might be there. I'm blessed to have such a Pandit look over my book. So this is the humility of the Vaishnava, to think that he could be corrected by anybody. I mean, of course, it's Nimai Pandit, but he was ostensibly, he was not a Vaishnava. He was a pious boy from a Brahmin family. He wasn't a practicing, in any full sense, practicing Vaishnava. He wasn't initiated or anything of the sort. But you can help me correct my book. Expertise in the field of language and so forth. So how did Mahaprabhu reply? Nimai Pandit, I should say. He said, the book written by a Vaishnava cannot have any faults, because the spirit behind it is to glorify Krishna. And one can never there can never be any mistake made in glorifying Krishna, right? Baba Grahijanagana, this is his nature, right? Pujapachita Maharaj said, if you pronounce the word wrong in song or in verse or something, but it's a verse in glorification of Krishna, then Krishna will say, no, I think you meant it like this, right? So he feels the spirit of it. When we were younger in Los Angeles, in New Dwarka, we used to, in Gularti, we'd see the Guruvastakam, and then at 6:30 in the morning, those of us didn't have other services, we would sit in front of the asana Prabhupada and sing it again. And that latter singing, Prabhupada could hear in his room. So he spent quite a bit of time there in Los Angeles in those days. And so he's hearing us sing, Vande Guru Shri Charanam. We were pronouncing Vande Guru as Vande sounded like Guru. For my business is to roast feed of a cow, which isn't a bad thing either. Prabhupada said, they're just pronouncing it wrong, so he corrected us, but he was feeling the devotion nonetheless and accepting this, and it made that clear as well. So this is the difference between one end of the spectrum we talked earlier, Varnashram, where you got to do everything right for it to work, and if you do it wrong, it could get the opposite effect. And in Bhakti, you could do it wrong, but if there's parts in the right place, then you want to be corrected, right? But we shouldn't be so quick to correct. Don't do it like that, people. Do it like this. It has to be like this. And the new Bhakti goes, this is insane. Like everywhere you turn, it's like just let it go. Let it go. Bhakti is self-educate time, right? You got to teach something, right? But don't worry about it. Her heart's in the right place. Yes, you did it wrong. Next time, do it right. No problem. Don't worry. No worries, right? That's what Krishna says. Sarvadharman pratyajamam kamashya. Pantam sarvapapa vimoksha yishami masucha. This is the end of the Gita, and the beginning. What we say at the beginning. Nanu sochati pandita. Same thing. Don't worry. Be happy. Be happy. So, Ishwar Puri was very pleased with the response of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, but still later he insisted, take a look anyway, take a look. So Mahaprabhu took a look at the book. He had said to him, some devotees say, this is sort of relative to my point, another example, some devotees say, what is it? Om Vishnaya instead of Om Vishnave, but Vishnu accepts either one. The correct Sanskrit, Om Vishnave, not Om Vishnaya. Krishnaya, yes, but Vishnave. So it's a dative case. So this is what Mahaprabhu, Nimai Pandit said, among other things. But anyway, later, as I say, Ishwar Puri kind of insisted, read it over. So Mahaprabhu read it over, and then he found some grammatical, very minor, technical grammatical error. And so he pointed it out humbly to Ishwar Puri upon his repeated request. And Ishwar Puri was astounded by that he had found that. And then he thought about it all night long, and then he realized, actually, he's wrong. I was right. I did this right. So he went back and showed him, Mahaprabhu, you were wrong. He's the only one that ever defeated Nimai Pandit. And Nimai Pandit was, of course, very pleased with this. And then, with the passing of Nimai's father, he went to Gaya to perform the Shraddha ceremony, which is a Varnashram ritual for the passing of one's father, relatives, and so forth. Ostensibly, he went for that reason, to observe the Shraddha ceremony. But when he came to Gaya and he saw, I've never been there, but the footprints of Vishnu, some holy imprint there, Vishnu's feet that are worshipped. So he saw that, and he went, of course, into a trance, and started was transformed. Ishwar Puri appeared on the scene also. And then Ishwar Puri invited him to come to my house. He wanted to cook for Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. They cooked for him and took care of him. And then ultimately, Nimai Pandit asked him for initiation. And then it's clear from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's preaching to Prakasananda Saraswati at the first occasion, which appears Chaitanya Charitamrita, which is in the end of the second part of the last part of the 7th chapter of the Adi Lila. It appears again later on in the Madhya Lila, the conversion of Prakashananda Saraswati. There's a reason it appears twice, of course. The first time it appears is to emphasize the point that in order to enter into the bhakti that this book is about, you have to get this Mayavad out of the way. This Mayavad conception out of the way. So this is, he begins to talk about the efficacy of Sankirtan and so forth, and he's going to begin start the Leela narrative of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's birth and so on and so forth. This thing about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in Kasi delivering Prakasananda comes. It seems like out of place, but this is the reason for it. Get this Mayavad out of the way. Let's deal with this, at least in brief, first, and then we'll move on from there. So Mahaprabhu, of course, ultimately comes out after really creating a teachable moment in Prakasananda Saraswati through his humility. After all, the Saraswati had, so many sannyasa disciples. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was invited because they wanted to correct him, because he was in the streets doing musical events. It wasn't the conduct of a sannyasi that should be studying of the Vedanta, according to the monists. So Prakasananda called him a bhavuka, a sentimentalist, which is interesting because the Bhagavatam says, Nigama kalpataro valitam palam, sukhavukaram tadrava samritam. People to Bhagavatam rasamalayam, guru rasika bhavuka. This book is for bhavuka. For rasika, this kind of emotion, transcendental emotion. And Mahaprabhu got that transcendental emotion. How did he get it? Because he got the mantra from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, from Tripurari. This is what he told Prakasananda Saraswati. I cannot study Vedanta. My guru told me, you're a fool. You're a fool. You cannot study Vedanta. You're really saying it's foolish to study Vedanta. When just by chanting the name of He, Krishna, who is, what does he say in the Gita? I am Vedanta. He says, what does he say? Say it again. Vedanta Vedeva Vedeva Chaham. Aham. I am the Veda. Personified. And I'm not different from my name. When I make my name available through Ishwar Puri, who gave me the name Krishna, and who gave me Krishna Nam in Gaur Lila. Krishna, who gave me the name Krishna, and in Gaur Lila gave me the Krishna Nam to chant in my Acharya Lila. When that name is made available, then what does it need to study Vedanta? So you're a fool to study Vedanta. He said, you're a fool, you can't study Vedanta. But what he meant was, you're a fool to study Vedanta. And he's telling us to Prakashananda, you're a fool to study Vedanta. When you could get not only everything in the Vedanta, but more. Shrutam api upanishadam dure harikatamritam. This is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said this, according to Jiva Goswami. Those sounds of the Upanishads, Ambramasmi, Neti, Neti, Tattvam Asi, these are like lights, jewels, setting the effulgence. They shine light on the nature of the self, the Atma, its likeness to Brahman. It's very bright, but it's very dim in comparison. Dure Harikatana, very far from where you can go by Harikata, by chanting the holy name. That sound, these two syllables. Rupa Goswami says it another way. What does he say? Sounds of the Upanishads are like jewels, but their effulgence, their light only goes to so far. Similar. of where you can go with this. They're all shining, these aphorisms of these sutras of the Upanishads or Vedanta. Their light is shining all on the two syllables, Krishna, properly understood, and where you can go with that. Kampashu Pulakadaya. This happened to Mahaprabhu, and this is what he told Prasanna Saraswati. And my guru gave me Krishna Nam, he says. And he told me, what is that verse, Agni? He told me,
Krishna mantra.
no, that's there too, but another one from the Purana. Kali Yuga. Kalo nasteva gatiranita. Harinam, Harinam. Kalo nasteva. He's talking about Mahamantra, the Nam mantra, not the Gopal mantra or Krishna mantra. My Guru Maharaj he gave him both, but he's talking about this. He gave me this mantra, and he told me this. The Kali Yuga, there's no other way, but this is the way. Not by Gyan, not by karma, not by yoga, but this way, by Nam. And I chanted it, and Kampashu Pulakani, all these, I experienced all these transformations of ecstasy, Satvika-bhavas, and I went crazy, weeping, wailing, passing out. I thought I lost all my knowledge. All my knowledge disappeared. This is a group where like knowledge is everything, right? Avidya is the source of ignorance, and knowledge is the solution. How more simpler could it be? There's more to it than that. There's nothing more than knowledge. Right? Knowledge is sattvic, that's also binding unto itself. We need something from the other side to help us, take us out of this present situation, circumstances, material conditioning. So he said, I lost all my knowledge. I became paralyzed. I'm weeping. And I went back to my guru and said, what kind of mantra did you give me? And my guru said, why? Why do you ask? This is what happened to me. And he was very pleased. Yes, this is what's supposed to happen. This will happen to you. This will happen to you. And if it doesn't happen to you, then there must be some aparat in the background. Otherwise, all these symptoms should come. So you have to practice chanting. Practice chanting. Give full focus on this. Your japa. It's getting someone. It's not sit down and get something done, get it over with, so I can get back to what's important. This is what's important. And gradually, the whole life will revolve around that. Time to sit and chant. Wow. Time to sit and chant. This can extend that a little longer. Kirtaniya sada hari, but it will come. Trinadapi, Sunichena, Tarorapi, Sahishna, Mani Namanadena. Kirtaniya sada. When you can be this flexible, humble, then those other transformations, ecstasy, they'll be coming soon. They'll be coming soon. From Vishta, this is Nishta, to Ruchi. Shreya Kairava Chandrikotana. Something substantial from the other side is showing up. Then we can have a meaningful conversation with our guru that we talked about this morning. We can ask, you're reading Bhagavatam, what do you find attractive there? So in this way, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's first guru and foremost guru, we can say, is his Nam Guru and Mantra Guru. Of course, he had other gurus, and we talked in the beginning about the fact that Gaudiya Vaishnavas and posits a plurality of gurus. In fact, Bhagavatam in the 11th canto says, not by one guru alone can we achieve the goal of life. It's an interesting statement there. It's another discussion. I don't need to think you should go find another one out quick or something like that. But I mean, in one sense, because all that is explained there is different Siksha gurus, that Avadhuta is finding in nature different teachers are doing different things, speaking to different points, jiva senses. It's a Siksha Guru. So it means you need Diksha, you need Siksha. It could come from one person, but you need both. You need Diksha, and you need the Siksha. You need the seed, and you need the watering. Both, right? Can't have one without the other. But that's it. Which is the if the circumstances are such that you have a Diksha Guru, and let's say he passes away or he's not available, and you feel the need for a Siksha Guru, but like in the case of Gadadhar Chutananda, who was in India and separated from the Prabhupada for some time, and wrote to Prabhupada early on in his responses and feeling in your absence a need for a Siksha Guru, and Prabhupada said, oh, well, then you can go to my Gadadhar, V.R. Sridhar Maharaj Namadvi. What to speak of what you can learn from him, the Siksha Guru, I consider him my Siksha Guru. So he went and lived there for a couple of months with Sridhar Maharaj. He's never the same. Unique flavor to him in his con. You love him. And so there might be circumstances like this where one has a Diksha Guru and another Siksha Guru. One has someone had a Sannyas Guru or a Ragmarg Guru. We'll talk about these things. They come up with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had Sannyas Guru, he had a Ragmarg Guru, so on. Right? So which one is the best Guru? Which is the most, which is the most important Guru? Let's put it like that. Which is the most important Guru? Sridhar Maharaj said, the one that helps you the most. Common sense is very uncommon, isn't it? It's very, very useful. The one that helps you the most. Love transcends rules here, right? Sriman Mahaprabhu ki jai. Oh, Guru Gauranga ki jai. What's the time?
7:57.
Mostly.
Okay, so we'll close up for now, and you can chat amongst one another about all these things. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha
Bhakti Vedanta Tripurari Maharaj Srila Maharaj ki jai.